Welcome to Power Your Profits podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to make your first step towards explosive business growth, this is the right podcast for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Susie.
Welcome to Power Your Profit podcast. I'm your host, Susie Carder, and you are in for a treat. I know I say that every time, but Hilary is a hoot. She's fun. She's globally known as the leading mindset expert. She's a dynamic speaker, contributing author. She's a life architect, a generational shifter. Come on now, top success coach. She brings true and she helps people, celebrities, elite performers shatter their deepest limits using brain-based strategy to architect their best life and create a generational impact. She's the founder of R3 International, CEO of H. Porter Coaching, a leading-edge transformational company with offices in Charlotte and the UK. And she helps clients through her one-on-one coaching, VIP intensives, workshops, retreats, and online courses. Please help me welcome Hilary. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that I'm going to introduce you to our tribe and they get to meet you because you are just a spitfire and I love it. Love the energy. You're so perfect for our audience and who we are and what we're up to. So tell everyone, because this might be their first time meeting you and you might have fans following you and seeing you on your site. Tell everybody, what's your magic? What's your sweet spot? What do you do and who do you serve?
Oh my good gosh. Well, that's a mouthful right there. I have been absolutely blessed and humbled to serve the clientele that I have. I have a lot of titles, just to be quite honest with you. I'm a life architect. I'm a business alchemist. I'm, all literally about rewiring and shattering the limits, right? The mental limits and limiting beliefs that people have so that we can take you to 7, 8, 9 figures, right? You got to get out of your own damn way. So I help with that. I have several different companies. One is a boutique strategy practice in North Carolina with satellite offices in the UK. Travel overseas, obviously a lot. I have clients globally. I have, it's kind of like some days I want to pinch myself, right? Because I wake up and I'm like, I get to do this. And I get to have so much fun doing it because I've got everything from, international conglomerates, right, that I have coached and consult with. But at the same time, I've got startups. And then I've got everything in between. I've got A-listers, right? Influencers, actors, producers. I've got elite military special forces. I get to play in the arena with mindset for several of the professional motorsport teams like Lamborghini and Mercedes, right? And Porsche. So
you have some interesting niches, girl.
I do. Well, and it's really funny. Everybody says, how do you do all that? I said, well, really, actually, it's all tied together because I'm more of an intuitive, right? Yeah. And I'm very conscious and I try to create conscious businesses and lives because the truth is, and girl, you know this yourself, is that your business and your personal life are going to mirror each other, right? Yeah. And so I actually treat them both. And so I'm really picky about who I get to play with, if the truth be told, because I have a lot of one-on-one private clients, but at the same time, I do VIPs, I do live classes, workshops, retreats. I just came back from Cabo where I led a retreat. I just came back from Sedona where I led another retreat. There's, it's constantly on the go and I do a lot like you. I kind of feel like, you in a way. So if you're just like,
we're soul sisters, girl. We're soul sisters finding each other again.
Right. But, I write for, various magazines. I think I'm about up to 35 now. And then, I used to co-host a radio show. I get to play in so many different things and, being on stages a lot, which I love so very much because, I'm a generational shifter, man, just to be honest with you. I'm a freedom fighter and I want to shake it up, a total disruptor. So if I can help somebody truly throw off, right, and help them heal, and kind of like a human behavior hacker.
Yes.
Seriously, then that's what I want to do, because then they can bring their magic into the world, and then the world can benefit, and it's just, I don't know, it's a snowball effect. It's just I get to have a beautiful life and serve.
Well, I love it. You get to, but you've created it, which is, when you look at it, because people think it magically happens.
Oh no! It's like the iceberg. Are you kidding me? No, this took great intention and really just very good architecting.
So what is that? Because you on your site, right? You talk about I'm a life architect. So what is that, right? Because I think the two words that you just said, which are awesome, because they're both on my questions: the life architect. And then you said you were a business alchemist. So talk about both of those. What's the difference? What is it for people who may not know who that is?
Sure, absolutely. As a life architect, I really take a look at your life so that we can kind of deconstruct it and kind of recalibrate and really design. And I'm completely dead on when I talk about design, because so many times in life we fall into. Right. Yes. We fall into school, we fall into love, we fall into marriage, we fall into kids, and we go, holy hell, what happened? And so it's not really a very intentional thing. Not many people that you do find have a real intentionality about their lives. And so as an architect, a life architect, I help them take a look at what's really important to them. Right. And then not just one of these, oh, well, we're going to have a vacation, 5 years from now, we're going to do this or we're going to do that. We're going to actually architect it in. We're going to build it in and architect it just like we would a house. We're going to get really detailed about your marriage, your relationships, your parenthood, everything from your financials to your spirituality. We're going to do it. I mean, we're talking holistic, consciousness.
Yes, I love it. Because you say how you show up mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, relationally, spiritually. And I love you said it that generationally earlier.
It is. Well, it's, gosh, I love it when I think it was Truman that said it, the buck stops here. Right. Yeah. And for me, so many times I've seen it all throughout the years. I mean, I'm 55 now, so I've had an opportunity to really work with a lot of, people, thousands and thousands, globally. And what I see that, we're all literally just learning how to be brave and vulnerable despite a lot of the wounds, right, that have created us. And we're just becoming, but none of us have to really live broken. That's the thing. And limited to kind of the blueprint that we had from a childhood or societal conditioning. And so for me, I'm all about, let's scrap it. Let's rebuild it. Let's reinvent it. And let's reemerge.
When you teach from your experience, right? So you've had some really pivotal, we were talking about it in the green room, some defining moments in your life. And I think people look at you and they look at me and they're like, oh, it's easier for them because whatever the because is, right? We've all done it in the past because they look this way, they have that, or they have a piece of paper or whatever. So talk about like, what were some defining moments in your life that led you to be who you are?
It was kind of the worst and the best, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Initially something seems like it's really tragic, but then all of a sudden you realize what a gift it was. And mine happened to be a very high conflict divorce. Literally, it put my butt in the fetal position for about 2 years. But the good news is it forced me, and this is where there's everything can be for you, right, or to you. And this was for me because it allowed for, right, the opportunity for me to kind of peel back, right, the curtain and get raw, get real, get naked and go, okay, who am I outside of all these titles?
Right.
I mean, seriously. And so it made me do the deep shadow work, which was beautiful and very freeing. And it allowed me to then say, okay, I've experienced a lot of contrast in this area. Right. So do I want to wash, rinse, and repeat? Hell no. No, not at all. And so because of that, it allowed me to take an honest look and assessment and say, okay, here's what I have. Here's what I would like to have. So let's do a gap analysis, right? And let's build it. And
Right.
so that's what I did. So again, this was initially, it's like, unfortunately, he test drove a lot of models, let's just say. So I had a big ego, but I know I did. I had this big, my ego was hurt. I mean, I felt spanked, right?
Right.
And I had to learn. And I think that it goes back again. I had to learn who I was.
Right.
And I had been functioning, as a consultant for so many years and traveling globally and, big, large initiatives and things of that nature. And so I was so comfortable functioning in that masculine energy, right? That I had to go, okay, wait a minute. I'm a woman. It's safe to be a woman and I can do this. And what does the, being in this role look like? What is the feminine divine, right? And how do you function in between? And so it brought about just a beautiful awakening. And it's what's so funny is I've gone back and consulted for, some of my prior, places that I have, been employed. And they're like, oh my gosh, you were so impressive before. There's something so different about. I said, wait a minute, hold on. Does that mean I'm less impressive now? And they're like, no, there's this whole aroma about you that's soft, but you're scary smart. But I mean, my nickname was the Velvet Hammer because I was really nice, but we're getting it done. Right. Yeah. So,
I have the sparkly hammer. You have the velvet. I have the sparkly. We're a good team.
Listen, we could just solve world peace, you and I together, I think. Yeah, so
I think, and I love that because I think, we were talking a little bit about it where I felt like I had to fit into a man's world, right? When I was younger, it wasn't okay to be a beautiful businesswoman. It wasn't okay to wear leopard, right? Fun glasses, right? To be suited and booted, right? Leopard is my signature color.
Thank you. Me too. Oh yeah, but it's true.
And getting in touch and using it as a power to go, wait, it's okay if you cry. I'm not having drama. It's just emotions. I remember I was doing this training for a very, very large, prestigious company. And we did this ending ceremony where they acknowledge each other and they're crying and I'm crying. Yeah. And I went and talked to the promoter afterwards. And I'm like, so what did you think? She goes, I loved it, but let's not do that crying thing again. I wasn't doing the crying thing.
Like that was real.
Not because they were crying, I'm crying. She's like, yeah, we don't do that here. I'm not the right speaker for you because I'm not going to manage that to go.
No, I'm with you. I think that's part of it is, and I know that you'll probably, echo this, but the older I get, right. Gosh, I've just let go of caring, it's of the things that don't matter. Right. And being as authentic as I can be and transparent and being vulnerable. Right. And being brave enough to talk about the hard things that most people would shy away from. So,
well, I think that's why we're seasoned because we can really experience that. And when I came from the beauty industry and there were no women trainers. I think there was one other one besides me. And there wasn't a model of like, where do I look for? How do I be inside this conversation? I just had men colleagues. I'm like, okay, I'm going to wear a blue suit with a red accent.
But, it's really funny. I look at you as such a trailblazer, right? You pioneered this in your industry, which I find just really just very impressive and very admirable. I had an opportunity to consult with Aveda for a while. So, I kind of learned a little bit about the industry and things of that nature. And I will tell you, you're right. There are no female leaders that are out there that are talking, what's your SOP, right? Standard operating procedures for your this. What is this? How can you scale? I mean, it was just non-existent. So I am, like I said, kind of like you said in the green room, we were chatting. I was like, oh my gosh, I just have such an appreciation for you and what you've done and accomplished. It's just,
it's kind of what you talk about, right? Like, what is that inner thing that only you can do. I just went, I'm going to learn from somebody that looks like me. And I looked around, there was nobody like me. So God said, I guess it's you. I'm like, what?
You're chosen. Welcome to the stage.
Exactly. So that divine, like your divine, your calling, that's when you were talking about the alchemist, is having people see. You know, if I didn't have a coach like you back in the day that showed me like, yeah, this is your calling. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. You can do it. Right? You got to have those ride or dies, whether it's a coach or a friend or a mentor that will believe in you.
I'm such a huge, proponent of that. I mean, I even like it back to the biblical days, and I'm just going to throw in a little Bible if that's okay.
Because you can throw in a little Bible. We are all Bible believing Christians here.
I just, I ran a women's ministry for a long time, and I was on the circuit, for conferences and things like that, because I really just want to pour out, right? But I want to teach. And so for me, what's really amazing is, you look at being a very strong woman. You look at, these things that we need. You look at we having coaches now. Coaches are, just actually become mainstream. I mean, like there for a while, it was like, oh, you have a coach. But now, I mean, it's like, you don't have a coach. I mean, it's more of that kind of question. But going even back into, biblical times, you think about it, like Moses, right? He was parting the Red Sea. And, for those of you who know the story, if you don't, you can call me and talk through it. But anyway, he had to raise his hand and raise the staff. Well, I don't know about you, but if you put your hand up for over a minute or two, your arm starts to get tired.
Yeah.
Get tired. And sometimes, it's going to do it. But if he were to do that, he would have had the sea close up, and that would have been thousands of people and livestock and children and women and everybody killed. So you can imagine the pressure on him. And so, Aaron came up beside him, held up his arm, and he was a paraclete, which is to me what a coach is. You come up and let the other person shine so you can help them achieve their greatness. Right.
I love that analogy. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Okay, so let's just shift a little bit. So many people are challenged right now, struggling right now because of the economy, because of the pandemic, right? And there's always something, right? We've survived many of them in our business. So what's been your secret sauce in this season, right? Because this season is different than the other seasons that we've survived. What's been your secret sauce? Because you're still building, 7-8 figure business. You're still playing with the leaders. What's been your secret sauce to stay in action and grow?
Okay, you're gonna laugh. One, I've never advertised ever, which has really been amazing, and I feel very honored that it's kind of been manna, right, each time. Number one, I believe, and I've seen this too. A lot of people during the pandemic and post-pandemic have really struggled to get their business off the ground. Mine has actually just ramped up even more, right? Yes. And it's been very fortunate, word of mouth and corporations and, doing the keynote speaking and things of that nature. So I think people in general are hungry, right? They're hungry to build something like with consciousness, right? Yes. Building a conscious business, and building something so that they don't have to, right, go to a job that they can't stand, that actually causes them to lose themselves and get disconnected, and then it impact their relationships and their parenthood, and kind of have that generational ripple effect, and kind of really, paycheck to paycheck. And so for me, people are excited at the chance to explore how to live like you and I, right? Really to have the time freedom, the location freedom to really get to cherry pick what we want to do. Right.
I think your mindset, right? Because when I get in dark places, you get in dark places. And then if I stay in that place too long, I start attracting people, students, clients. I'm like, what is happening? And I'm like, oh, I am in my funk, like whatever that funk might be. Yeah. And so what are some of the rituals that you do to get yourself out of that, to stay on top of your game?
Okay, so you're going to laugh really hard because, everybody talks about...
And you're not laughing, you're not having fun, because business is supposed to be fun.
Thank you. But the truth is that I don't have that. I don't have bad days. I actually have such great, amazing super performance habits that I do that ensures that my mindset is where it needs to be. And that's one of the things that, a lot of the A-listers, a lot of the, the CEOs of international, conglomerates and, professional football players, even, they come to me for mindset.
Right.
And because I've really developed, my methodology over the years, out of necessity, obviously, right? But at the same time, I mean, I've been hit with things just like everybody gets hit with, but I take a look at it and I kind of pull back. I know it sounds weird to say pull back and lean in at the same time, but I do. I kind of pull back from everything and I lean in and say, what does this need to teach me? What am I supposed to learn here? Mm-hmm. And help me to have a teachable spirit, right? And when I find that I do that, one, I don't feel like I fall into victimhood, number one.
Right.
I feel actually as if the refining process is burning off something I don't need.
Yeah.
And so I welcome it. And so when you lean into something, which could be, terrifying at the same time, you have a choice. And I'll be honest with you, there are 86,400 choices in a day because that's how many seconds we have in a day. And so using your mindset, right, and setting yourself up for success versus failure. I mean, I could go into, my ADD, which is my every damn day, right? Habits, is what I call them. All my clients, they all laugh at me, right? You have to, you have to do that though, because if not, it's easy to get swallowed whole, right? Yes. And so your brain, oh my gosh. I mean, I've studied so much neuropsychology and all this stuff like this, and I'm kind of like a really fun nerd. I mean, I still skydive and I still do all kinds of things, but I am kind of nerdy and, and really studying all the depth of it that I have, there really are. That's why I kind of call myself a human behavior hacker, because I can flip your, script, and I can help you totally from an emotional intelligence standpoint, show up to where you don't fall into, right? There's that fall into thing. Yeah. You don't fall into these traps. And
well, what I love that you're saying, it's trained behavior, right? So I don't have that voice inside my head anymore, right? I've trained myself not to have it, not to hear it, not to listen to it. And people are like, how do you do that? Well, it's training, right?
It's reprogramming, repatterning. I started, I've done, I think, every modality that you could probably really wrap your arms around, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, getting to the master level in those. And, one of my companies is called Rewire, and where it's actually, you go in to their subconscious. This is not hypnosis, by the way, but you go into their subconscious and you literally rewire over the limiting beliefs.
Yes.
And so, that's one of the things that, I have found, because everybody's got something that's going to pop up, something's going to trigger something. But if you can say, ooh, that triggered me. Let me think about that for a minute. Where did it come from? What is it? Is it shame, guilt, not enough, or not worthy? I mean, you find out, and then you just literally rewire. Then you're okay. I mean, literally, it's ridiculous. People go, what is with you?
It's magical, right? That's where people go, it's magical. Yeah, there's no sprinkle fairy dust. We have to do the work.
It's right? The shadow work.
You have to have someone who's walking their talk. I always say the tongue in your mouth and your tongue in your shoe have to go in the same direction, because there's a lot of people teaching theory, and that right? There's so many charlatans, and you're wasting your money.
That's my word I was going to get ready to use. I was like, there's so many charlatans out there, and I'm like, wow, that's going to be some bad karma. I wouldn't think I would play with that, personally. But
I don't think they know. I
don't think they do either.
No, they don't know. They're just trying to make the buck. So what I love about this conversation, and I did my due diligence before you were a guest here, to go, are they the real deal? And you can always tell. You start digging deeper in conversation, and you can tell, like, oh, okay, that's some theory. Like, and I fell for the theory. We all have fell for it, bought it, wasted money. I'm like, God dang it. I didn't.
I know. I've done it too. I mean, we all have, in the hopes that, that it can match up. Right. And right. When it doesn't, you kind of go, oh, really? But then you go, if you're using the right kind of mindset, then what you do is you say, man, I'm going to give gratitude for that, because you know what? It showed me contrast of what it doesn't need to look like.
Well, look at the flipping the switch right there, right there.
It is totally. And that's what I'm saying. If you train and pattern yourself to constantly look for the gratitude, the good part of whatever, I mean, it happens. It really, it does. I mean, because, neuroplasticity, what you're going to wire together is going to fire together.
I love it. Okay. So let's flip just a little bit, because I think this will be a great example for, our students and our listeners. So what's been your biggest failure? And then what did you learn from that experience?
Okay. So you're going to laugh because I don't love the word failure.
We can fill it in with biggest challenge, biggest.
The only reason is because, it kind of takes something negative. And for me, I love to use the word contrast, because what that does for me is it helps me to understand that it was not so much a failure, it's just a learning opportunity to get more tuned in and tapped into what I do want versus what I experienced. Right. So, okay. I had a long time ago, I had a business partner, and
look, I'm laughing because we know we can have a whole hour conversation on why and why not.
Forever on the business partner situation. And so what happened was, I had a business partner, unfortunately, who couldn't perform, and I didn't know it till we, were already into it, 6 months. And
Me too. I did that one too.
and I have this thing where I always try to look at the greatness in people, right? And try to nurture and help them get to where they need to go. Well, let me just tell you, it didn't work so well on that one. It didn't even happen. It was one of those things that it spanked me, and it hurt my feelings for a second, but then it helped me to get really dialed in, to what I did want in the future. Should I ever decide to partner again?
But learning, right? We learn so much. You learn so much and going, okay, not again. What I love, I'm a tough nut. Sounds like you're a tough nut too. Right. Yeah. And so I don't have to keep learning lessons all the time. Like I got that one. That one I got down. Check. Don't need to do it again.
There's certain field trips, sister, I never want to go down.
I love you say I got smacked or spanked on that one. I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna have to borrow that one. I love it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So Hilary, this is Power Your Profit podcast. So let's talk about your wealth strategies. What are your wealth strategies? What do you do? How do you build it?
Oh gosh, well, there are a few. I try to diversify, obviously.
Yeah.
In the market, as well as I like to invest in real estate, right? Yeah. Land is land. Whether you want to, build on it, or whether you want to, subsidize, rent it out, whatever you want to do, you can always, it's a really good investment. I've found, I think you and I, we were talking before we got live, right? How we've both been kind of burned before, part of
I've made millions and I've lost millions. Like you can't risk, you can't have both, right? You've got to be able to take the down when it's down and the up when it's up. So,
and it's just it's great learning opportunities and how to strengthen, your knowledge with it. So, so I do a lot of that. I'm like you, conservative, in the fact that, I pay myself first. Yeah. Right. I pay myself first. I have your traditional IRAs. I have, just things of that nature. And I've got 3 in college right now. So I'm investing in their futures. So I have a lot of.
I promise you that will pay dividends. I did that as well. So it'll pay us dividends. Girl.
There you go. Absolutely. So, I just have, a lot of different, I guess more traditional, as we talked about, I was at some points, I was pretty risky, with certain things. And then I've learned over time that, there's a certain amount of risk that I can tolerate, and what I don't, want to, I just don't. So,
Well, I think that's seasoned, right? So I think you have to, every decade look at, is that strategy still working, right? You have to invest for the long haul, but you also have to keep tweaking your strategy to go, in this season, I'm
And you have to be able to pivot too. I think that's one of the key things too. It's very important. I think some people forget. They'll just put their money somewhere with somebody and they'll say, oh, this is for the long game. And they won't even look at it. I'm like, you need to pay attention.
Yeah.
You really need to pay attention to it. So
for people who don't know you, Hilary, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my gosh. It was really funny. I was just doing a keynote speaking engagement for this wonderful corporation that I love so much. And really interestingly, they asked me a couple of questions, and one was that, and the other one was, how do I define luxury? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's a very good question.
That's a good question.
That's very good. And I
just can answer them both.
I know I will. And I said, let me think about that for a minute, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. For me, luxury, as I've gotten older, changed. And it's not about the second, third houses. It's not about the cars. It's not about the jewelry. It's not about all that stuff. What it has become is to become unhurried. And, to allow for, the truth is I don't want to retire. I mean, I've been asked that question all the time. They're like, when are you going to retire? I said, is it because I'm 55? I mean, like, what the hell are you asking me this for? I mean,
you look good, girl. There is no retirement in you. You look good.
I honestly, I really want my last breath to be that of service to others. Like I said, I'm kind of a generational shifter. I'm a freedom fighter. I just want people to be able to live and to live well. And one of the things that I complimented you on is, wealth is your, birthright, right? And you and I, we talk about things like that all the time with our clients and to whoever else will listen, right? Yeah. But this is, you have an inheritance waiting for you to tune in and tap into, right? And most people think, oh, is that when my parents die? No, it's not. You just have to call it in. You have to get really intentional and about manifesting what you really want. And you have to, there's certain, obviously mindset, hacks that you have to do to get it, but it works. And so, I would really love my legacy to be that she poured out. She poured out, that she was there to serve. So.
Well, you definitely poured out here, and I had so much fun. And I want, how can people play with you? Let's get away. It'll be in the show notes, but let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, play with you. Because I get when they're working with you, it's not work, it's play, right? This is our life.
And we do. We really have such sometimes, like I said, I kind of pinch myself times that I have this life, because I get up at 4:35 in the morning, and I honestly cannot wait to get on, to get on a call or to get on a plane and do whatever I'm going to do, or get on my paddleboard, depending on what's going to happen. But, it's really should be play. You should be so dialed into your purpose, just like you. I mean, it's so obvious that you have such a passion for your purpose, and that you have such great influence and impact because of that. Right. And that's the difference. So if they want to play with me, I would welcome it. You can go to my website. It's hporta.com, HPORTA.com. I am getting ready to open up my mastermind. I open them up twice a year. I've got two different ones. One is called the Inner Circle, and that's mainly for business, right? This is really helping getting your infrastructure in place. Your business playbook. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. All your SOPs, all your marketing systems, all finances, the whole 9 yards. And it's a really, it's wonderful. And we've just seen such great results with that, and had people from 9 different countries that are usually, that are usually involved in it. So it's a yummy one. So
it's a yummy one. I love that.
It is. I have another one. It's called Awakening the Feminine Divine. And this one is really, I'm just going to be completely honest here. This is one for women only, because obviously, but it's really about learning how to balance the masculine, in a corporate setting, in the feminine world, like really stepping back into your womanhood and really learning who that is and what that is. And so we're launching that again in January as well. I'm going to be doing some more retreats. So keep looking onto my websites. One of my other businesses is called Rewire. So if you go to rewire.hporta.com, you'll find out more all about that and all the different services that can help set you free. And so that's always fun. And gosh, each one of my retreats. Yeah. I'll just put it on there for you so that you'll have each one. You can, on Instagram, I'm HP, the Life Architect. And of course, on LinkedIn, you can find me. I'm Hilary Porta. Facebook, I'm Hilary Porta. And of course, I have several businesses. One is R3 International Incorporated. It's got Facebook, it's got LinkedIn, it's got all you need.
All you need. And we can find her on our website, anything that you need so that we can support you in staying connected and staying true to your purpose, right? And really leveraging your wealth, because wealth truly is your birthright. If you love this episode and you love this conversation with Hilary, please share it with your friends, post it on your site so we can spread the message and really have more people living a life that's unrecognizable. I'm your host, Susie Carder. Thank you so much, Hilary, for being here. I'd love to play with you some more.
I would love it. Thank you so much for the honor.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at https://poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game, so be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.